and welcome to Teamtalk. Compared with the comings and goings of the week before, last week was relatively quiet at Sincil Bank, culminating with Saturday's 1-1 draw at Barnet. BBC Radio Lincolnshire's Rob Makepeace and Mark Whiley from Lincolnshire Echo have joined me to discuss that match and look ahead to tomorrow's Checker Trade Trophy quarter-final against Peterborough. So let's start with Saturday's game then. Mark, a frustrating one for the Imps.
It was, yeah. First half was really poor, deservedly trailed at the interval. Double change at half time, big call from Danny Cowley taking Luke Waterfall off at half time. Jordan Williams as well, Harry Anderson and James Wilson coming on. Better in the second half, few chances. Obviously Wilson scored about a minute into the second half. But overall, I don't think Lincoln really did enough to win the game. It was overall quite a disappointing performance. But Barnet with a new manager, they're always going to get a reaction, and they deserve their point in the end.
Yeah, how big a difference do you think that made, Rob, the fact that Graham Westley had just come in for Barnet?
I think it always is going to be difficult when you come up against a team that have a new manager, because they have that impetus of one, the manager putting in different methods, even though he'd only been in charge a couple of days, but also the players wanting to prove they deserve a place, especially with it being the transfer window. Graham Westley is known as a cutthroat manager. If some of the players hadn't performed on Saturday, I'm sure they would have been out the door come this week. So it was always going to be difficult for Lincoln City, and actually you look back on the season, I think a draw, yes, Barnet are struggling at the moment, but a draw against a side with a new manager isn't going to be too bad come the end of April. Overall
then, a point gained or two dropped?
That's for the end of the season. It's a bit of both, really. I mean, given they didn't play particularly well in the first half, I think if you said to anyone at half time, would you take a draw, you'd say yeah, because Lincoln were really off at first half. It was one of the most disappointing halves of the season so far. So with that in mind, probably a point gained.
Overall then, transfer window so far, how do we look at it?
I think it's been positive for Lincoln. I think the players who've come in are better than the ones that have left the football club. I think there's still obviously issues around the striker area, and I think we probably haven't seen the last of the players leaving the football club, which again would leave some fans worried, because I think some fans expected not many people to leave and lots of people to come in because it would make the squad size bigger. However, if you look at Danny Cowley and look at the way he spoke throughout his time with Lincoln City, Braintree and Concord, he likes working with small squads. Lincoln are never going to be a team that has 25-30 players like some teams do in this league, because that's not the way Danny Cowley works. So I think we're still going to have a small squad for League 2 for Lincoln City, but I still think there is a little bit of work to do. But overall, I'd probably say 70-30 in terms of a positive transfer window for Lincoln.
How many more are we expecting to come in then, Mark? Of course, Danny said that he still wants another striker, but are we expecting any more?
I think that we could see more than one. I think the striker is the top priority at the moment, and I know Danny's drawn up a short list of players he likes. If he doesn't get the first one, he'll go to the next one, and so forth. But I think we could see possibly another one on top of that as well. Obviously the future of Nathan Arnold seems to be a bit up in the air after he was left out of the squad on Saturday. Danny just saying he was unavailable. But also we need to see what's going to happen with Sean Raggett as well. Could he come back from Norwich? And Callum Howe's another one. He's returned to the club from Eastleigh. I'm not sure if he's in Danny's plans, so could he be going somewhere? So yeah, there's a few questions to be answered between now and the end of the month.
Yeah, how do you look at the Nathan Arnold situation, Rob? Not in the squad Saturday, so what do we read into that?
It's difficult, isn't it? When a manager always says the player is unavailable, you do automatically think, oh, what's going on? I know Nathan tweeted, I think late last night, about it not being an issue with his family being ill, and that wasn't correct. So I think there's some obviously talk about every Sunday the rumour mill's gone into overdrive as to what's happening with Nathan Arnold. In my opinion, I think he's someone you need to keep around the football club. I think he's someone who will offer you something. Yes, he might not be hitting the heights of last season, but I think if you had a toss-up between him and Cameron Stewart on the bench as a player who's going to come on and make an impact, I would 9 times out of 10 go for Nathan Arnold.
And Danny Cowley rates him so highly off the pitch as well, so he would be a big character to lose if he were to go.
Oh yeah, he's a smashing lad, Nathan. You know, he's been a great servant to the club. He was outstanding last season. As Rob said, he's not quite hit the heights this season, but you know, he's got a tremendous amount of experience. He's a good lad to have around the dressing room. I think he's lacked a bit of confidence so far this season. I think if he was to get a goal, it would sort of help his game enormously. But yeah, there's certainly question marks about his future, and we might know more by the end of the week.
Of course, when we came into the transfer window, the striker was the area that we thought Danny Cowley would go to first. It's the only area he hasn't strengthened so far. James Wilson, of course, came in. How did he look on Saturday, Mark?
Very good, James Wilson. He's going to be a long-term player. Obviously, it remains to be seen who's possibly going to play alongside him. Will it be Luke Waterfall? Will it be Michael Boswick? Or will he move back into midfield? But yeah, I mean, he looked a class act, James Wilson. Take away his goal. He looks very comfortable on the ball. Decent pace as well. He's kind of player who looks too good for League Two, which he is, because he's been outstanding for Walsall in League One this season. So yeah, he looks a terrific signing, and he's one of those players where you build a team around.
Checker Trade Trophy tomorrow then, Rob. It's a tough game in prospect with Peterborough visiting Teamtalk.
Yeah, it is. Obviously lots of history between Lincoln City and Peterborough United, going back many a year to Keith Alexander obviously leaving Lincoln to go to Peterborough, and players leaving, the likes of Leif Eckington going, obviously Michael Boswick. There's so many names you can mention with regards to this game. It's a local derby, which I think adds to the occasion, and it's whether Peterborough see this as a priority or not. They're pushing for promotion in League One. We've seen with Danny Cowley's sides this year, he doesn't rest too many players. Yes, he'll give some players game time, but actually you look at the match day squad, there's not too many changes. We're not seeing 6-7 changes, we're seeing maybe 2 or 3. So I think there's a big emphasis on this game, because again, Lincoln City want to get to Wembley, the fans want to get to Wembley. I think end of last week it was 4,500 tickets sold, so all of a sudden you're seeing the interest starting to rise in this game, and a win this, all of a sudden you're in the semi-finals and you're 1 round from Wembley. You
mentioned the fans there. Is there a sense of the boycott perhaps just loosening a little bit now that Lincoln are getting so close to tasting Wembley?
I think possibly. I think we'll see a big crowd, as Rob said, 4,500 sold last week. I think we'll see a crowd of about 6,000. I know Peterborough are ringing a few as well. I think they've already sold 500 tickets at least. So yeah, I mean, you just don't want people to miss out, do you? I mean, I can understand the boycotters and why they've taken the decision they have, but for me, I think you've got to get behind the team and try and help them get to Wembley. It's such a great opportunity. It's a little bit embarrassing that the club's never been to Wembley, and this is a tremendous opportunity. And I don't think it'll detract from the league form as well, because the run into the rest of the season is not particularly intense. It's not like it was last season when they were playing twice a week from Christmas until the end of the season. So I think they can have a really good run at this competition, and hope there's 6,000-7,000 there tomorrow night.
It's the lure of Wembley, isn't it, Rob? The fact that Lincoln could get to underneath the arch for the first time.
As a fan, I think even if you boycott, you'd kick yourself if you miss that opportunity of Lincoln being at Wembley. For Lincoln City, the one chance, or there's 2 chances really getting to Wembley, isn't there? There's your Checker Trade Trophy and there's your playoff final. Now the playoff final is extremely difficult to get to. You've got to go through a whole season to get to that, whereas the Checker Trade Trophy, 7-8 games to get to Wembley? It's an easy path, you would say, or an easier path to Wembley than most cup competitions. So you would kick yourself if you're a Lincoln fan not going to Wembley. I think we will see some of the people who have boycotted in the past start to come back, mainly because I think, number one, it's a chance to get to Wembley, but number two, the under 21 sides have not done too well. I think there's only Chelsea left in out of the under 21 sides remaining, so it's now a traditional League One, League Two cup competition. So I think that helps matters, and yeah, you would hate it to be the fan who goes, no, I'm sticking by the boycott, and then you see everybody go down on the train to Wembley, or go down on the car and go down the A1 to Wembley. You would hate that, and I think I don't have any criticism against the fans who boycott. I understand why they do it, but again, I wouldn't criticise them if they decided to come back and start following the team from now on, because at the end of the day, we want Lincoln City to get to Wembley. The more fans that can get there, the better.
Well, thanks for joining me, Rob and Mark. That's all we've got time for this week, I'm afraid. Goodbye.